Genius Kids. Cultivating love for learning.
Lesson 8. New Empires and Kingdoms. Knowledge acquisition. The Gupta Age is considered the golden age of ancient Indian history. The period between the decline of the Kushans and the rise of the Guptas is called the Dark Ages. Chandragupta I, 320 to 335 AD. Chandragupta I was the real founder of the Gupta dynasty. He ruled over India from 320 AD to 355 AD. He was the first Gupta king who assumed the title of Maharaj Dhiraj. He ruled over Pataliputra. When he came to the throne, Magad was the only territory he ruled. He married the Lichhari princess, Kumar Devi. With the help of the Lichhavis, he was able to extend his empire over Saket, the region of Ayodhya, Prayagraj, Allahabad, and Magad. Samudragupta, 355 to 380 AD. Samudragupta was the son and successor of Chandragupta I. He defeated many territories of India and added them to his kingdom. Therefore, he is known as the Indian Napoleon. Unlike Napoleon, however, he was never defeated in battle. Thus, he can be said to be even greater than Napoleon. Conquests of Samudragupta. He was one of the greatest rulers of the Gupta dynasty. He was chosen by his father to succeed him. As soon as he became king, he proceeded on a long campaign which brought him many victories. First, he defeated northern India and added Delhi and Uttar Pradesh to his kingdom. He fought against a number of kings in the Deccan and southern India such as those of Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Samudragupta defeated many kings in eastern India. He set out against the forest Tiavan Bialis of the south. The Tiavan Bialis of the south accepted his rule and pledged loyalty to him. He then triumphed over 9 tribal republics of Rajasthan. He marched further west and north. The Sak and Kushan kings also agreed to pay tribute. The power of Samudragupta extended beyond India. The king of Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia regularly paid tribute to the Gupta emperor. The Gupta Empire was mainly confined to northern India. A great personality, Samudragupta was not only a great conqueror, he was also a great scholar, a poet, and a lover of music. Samudragupta had keen interest in art and learning. He himself was a good poet and musician. In one of his coins, he is shown playing a veena. Though he was a Hindu, he showed respect towards other religions. He was also a patron of learning. He worshipped Lord Vishnu. Do you know? The Allahabad pillar inscription, also known as Prayagraj Prashasti, composed by his court poet Harisena, is the main source of information on his conquests. Chandragupta II, 380 to 412 AD. Chandragupta II is known as Chandragupta Vikramaditya. He was the son of Samudragupta. In 380 AD, he ascended the throne. He extended the boundaries of his empire by matrimonial alliances and other conquests. He married with a Naga princess. His first military achievement was his victory over Bengal, but his greatest victory was the one over the 3 provinces of western India, Malwa, Gujarat, and Kathiawar. He assumed the titles of Vikramaditya, the son of bravery and power, and Sakri, the enemy of Sakas, after defeating the Saka chiefs. He maintained friendly relations with the kings of the Deccan and South. Fahin, the Chinese traveler, visited India during the reign of Chandragupta II and left a comprehensive account of life in the Gupta Empire. Achievements of Chandragupta Vikramaditya. 1. Chandragupta II was a patron of literature and arts. Kalidas was the greatest literary figure of this age. 2. He developed trade relations with China as well as with Rome and Egypt. 3. He issued a large number of coins which speak about the prosperity of the Gupta Empire. 4. Being Hindu, he always worshipped Lord Vishnu, but he allowed his people to have their own religious beliefs. Administration of Chandragupta II. Fahim, the Chinese pilgrim, has written about the efficient administration of the Gupta Empire. The Gupta dynasty produced a number of able rulers. They established an efficient administration system. There were 3 levels of administration. Central administration. The king carried titles like Maharaj Dhiraj. The ministers were selected on the basis of their personal qualities. Several ministers were recruited to assist the king in administrative tasks, like Minister of Justice, Minister of War and Peace, etc. Provincial administration. The empire was divided into several provinces called Uprika. Each province was headed by a governor known as Uprika Maharaja. The provinces were further divided into districts called Vishyas. The head of the district was known as Vishapti. The persons who had a position of authority were Pratham Kayastha. Local administration. The village continued to be the basic unit of administration. Each village was under a village headman known as Gramika. His duty was to enforce the law and to keep the peace. He was assisted by a village council comprising the elders of the village. The Nagapatas, with the help of a parishad, that is the council of citizens, carried on administration in towns and cities. New system in army. During this period, the system of giving land grants was prevailing. It had started during the Satavahana period and gradually became a practice. Earlier, land grants were given only to the priestly class. But later on, it was provided to bureaucrats also in lieu of their salary. Samanthas, a class of landlords, were the result of increasing land grants. They acted as intermediaries between the king and the peasants. They were assigned to collect revenues, to maintain soldiers and horses, and to provide equipment for warfare. The king maintained a regular army. Samanatas also provided the king with troops whenever he needed. Trade and commerce. During the Guptas, people progressed in every field: trade, commerce, manufacture, science, medicine, mathematics, astronomy, art and architecture, language and literature. In international contact and diplomacy, India's name and fame spread in all directions. The Guptas issued coins in gold. This shows the economic prosperity of this period. Trade and commerce, both internal and external, flourished. There was a network of good roads that connected the major cities. India was prosperous and politically stable. Science. Great progress was made in the field of astronomy, mathematics, and medicine. The Gupta's age, therefore, was called as an age of science. Aryabhatta and Varamihir, both were astronomers and mathematicians. Aryabhatta declared that the earth moves round the sun. He wrote 2 famous books, Aryabhattiya and Surya Siddhant. Rihat Sanhita, written by Varamihir, deals with astronomy and mathematics. There were mastersmiths during the Guptas who had profound knowledge of metals. They made experiments in mixing metals to make alloy. The iron pillar at Mehrauli is proof of that. Social and religious conditions. Fahim gave a lot of information about the social condition of the people during the Gupta age. Society was divided on the basis of the 4 Varnas. The Brahmins were highly respected. Slavery was prevalent in the Gupta age, but not in any rigid form. Untouchability continued to be practiced rigidly. the joint family continued to be the backbone of Hindu society. The practice of sati was becoming a practice among the royal families. Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh were worshipped at that time because the kings were the followers of Hindu religion. Shiva was worshipped in his many names, for example, Kailashnath, Lokeshwara, Trilokeshwara, etc. Many temples were built in the kingdom. People performed Vedic yajnas. Other religions including Buddhism and Jainism were also adopted. They also built Jaina temples. Buddhism was in decline but had not quite disappeared. Decline of the Gupta Empire. India was threatened from the north by a race of nomadic people known as Hunas in the 5th century AD. Repeated invasions of the Hunas weakened the Gupta Empire to such an extent that the provincial governors had no difficulty in breaking away and becoming independent. The Gupta dynasty came to an end with the death of Vishnu Gupta in 550 AD. Harshavardhan and Harshcharit. A new kingdom arose at Thanesar, near Kurukshetra, Haryana, in the 7th century, about 100 years after the end of the Gupta era. It was also the birthplace of Harshvardhan, who is known better in history as Harsh. He came to the throne after the death of his brother in 606 AD. He is the last great Hindu emperor of northern India. He died in 647 AD. Sources. There are two important sources which give us information about Harsh and his achievements. The first important source is the Harshcharit, which was written by his court poet Bana Bhatt. Harsh himself took intense interest in art and literature. He wrote 3 Sanskrit plays, Ratnavali, Priya Darshika and Naganand. The second is the travel account of the Chinese pilgrim Hiuen Tsang, who visited India during the reign of Harsh. Kannauj was a central place and hence Harsh shifted his capital from Thanesar to Kannauj. With the help of his large army, he conquered many parts of northern India, including the Punjab, eastern Rajasthan and the Ganga Valley as far as Assam. He led a powerful army against the kings of the Deccan. But he was stopped by the Chalukya king Pulkesin II of Vatapi or Badami in Karnataka. As a result, Harsh had to return without success in his mission. Bana Bhatt has said that Harsh was totally changed after this setback. The dimension of Harsh's empire was similar to that of the Gupta. It extended from the Arabian Sea to the Bay of Bengal and from Kashmir to Narmada. His greatest achievement was the political unification of a large part of India. The subdued kings paid him tribute and sent him soldiers when he was at war with others. But they continued as rulers of their kingdoms. Religion's beliefs of Harsh. It is believed that Harsh adopted Buddhism and made a great efforts to popularize it. But he still respected other faiths. Harsha met Hiuen Tsang and had a long discussion with him. He used to hold a religious assembly every 5th year at Prayag, where he liberally distributed grants and alms to sons of all religions. Hiuen Tsang was a Chinese traveler who wrote a book which contained lots of information about Harsh's reign. The dress of the people varied from region to region. Hiuen Tsang described the Indian people as hot-tempered but honest. The people were very particular about cleanliness. He found that Buddhism was on the decline. It was popular in eastern India. He spent some years at the Nalanda University. This was a leading university of the time. Students flocked from all parts of Asia to this university. After Hiuen Tsang's visit, Harsh sent a mission to China, which established the first diplomatic relations between China and India. The decline of Harsh's empire. Harsh was a great king. He died in 647 AD. After his death, there was much confusion in the country. No one could keep the empire united. The kingdom broke up into many smaller units, which kept fighting against each other. Do you know? Harsh organized the 5th Buddhist Council at Kannauj in 643 AD. Rulers of the Deccan, the Palwas. The Palwas were the officers of the Satavahan period. After its decline, the Palwas established an independent kingdom of their own. They made Kanchipuram their capital. The Palwas fought prolonged wars against the Pandyas and the Chalukyas. They conquered the land to the south of Kanchipuram, Tanjore and Pudukkottai region. Mahendravarman was a famous king of the Pallava dynasty. He ruled at the same time as Harsh and Pulkesin too. The Palwas has a very strong navy and they also built several dockyards. The Chalukyas. Pulkesin too was the best known king of the Chalukya dynasty. We know about him from a Prashasti which was composed by his court poet Ravikirti. He ruled in the south at the same time as Harsh in the north. He was an ambitious ruler and wanted to control the whole of the Deccan plateau. He fought a battle against Harsha on the banks of the river Narmada. He fought bravely and finally defeated Harsh, demoralizing him badly. The capital of the Chalukyas was Aihole, which was regarded as a flourishing city. The Chalukyas had trade relations with Iran, Arabia and Red Sea ports in the west, and also with the kingdoms of Southeast Asia. The Chalukyan kings were great patrons of art. They gave money liberally for the building of temples and cave shrines in the Deccan hills. We find fine specimens of sculpture at Ellora. The credit for these masterpieces of art goes to the Chalukyan kings. Administration. Almost all administrative units were set up in the villages. In connection with the management of village affairs, various types of committees were formed. Some of these were Sabha, Ur, Shirur, Small Village, etc. Of all the village committees, the Sabha was considered the most important. The Sabha was an assembly of Brahman landowners. Besides, several subcommittees were formed to complete all the different tasks of a Sabha. The task of looking after irrigation, sanitation, agricultural production, temples, roads, etc. was assigned to these subcommittees. The assembly of non-Brahman villages was known as Ur. In this assembly, matters important to a village were discussed by the local residents. The assembly of mercantile groups was known as Nagaram. It is believed that village assemblies enjoyed full powers in the management of rural affairs. Many of these local assemblies continued to function for centuries. Keywords: nomadic, living the life a nomad, wandering. Uparika, provinces into which the kingdoms were divided. Samantha, vassals of a king or feudal lords. Astronomer, a scientist who studies the stars, planets and other natural objects in space. Diplomatic, anything that concerns the relations between the government of two countries. Prashasti, words of praise or admiration for a king written by a poet in his court in the form of inscriptions, achievements of rulers written in this book. Mercantile, relating to trade or commerce. Let's revise. Continuous review. The Gupta period is called the Golden Age of ancient Indian history. Chandragupta I, Samudragupta and Chandragupta II were some famous emperors of this dynasty. Samudragupta is known as the Indian Napoleon. Chinese traveler Fahin visited India during the reign of Chandragupta II. After the Guptas, Harshavardhan emerged as the most powerful ruler of North India. Chinese traveler Huan Zhang visited India during his period. During this period, some powerful kingdoms rose to prominence in South India. The Palwas and the Chalukyas were the most famous among them.
Like, share and subscribe.